Hello everyone, welcome to my podcast. My name is Celia and Hồng Ngọc is my Vietnamese name that I'm very proud of and respect because it represents where I belong.
Cái cò mày đi ăn đêm.
You just heard a lullaby that my mother used to sing to me when I was a child. Besides the loving words of my family, it was also one of the first sound of language in my life. My mother sang lullabies to me every night from the moment I was born, even before I could speak or understand the lyrics. This shows that learning a language doesn't necessarily require knowing meaningful words, but rather the melody and tones themselves. I felt my mother laugh through her gentle, warm, and melodious voice, repeated over and over, because she always told me that when she sang, I would stop crying and fall asleep. Through the behaviorist theory, this experience showed that interaction and repetition from the environment are the first steps in learning a language. I was born and raised in Vietnam, and everyone in my family speaks Vietnamese. Therefore, I use Vietnamese for daily communication and to acquire social knowledge from my studies and family. Because it is my mother tongue, I have a very rich words because of a young age I heard lullabies, story, poems, and proverbs in this language. Every day my family would talk about life and social knowledge during meals. I'm always touched when I remember the image of my father taking me to school on his motorbike every morning for 12 years of my schooling. He always taught me interesting and useful things about life. This everyday interaction helped me strengthen my language skills through social engagement through meaningful communication rather than formal instruction. This experience also relates to the concept of 100 language of children, as I learn language not only through spoken words but also through lullabies, family interaction, relationships, and life. When I was 3 years old, my father told me that I talk a lot but often mispronounce words with tones. I can say learning Vietnamese is difficult because of those tones, and there are a total of 6 different tones. The same word can have a different meaning depending on the tone added. For example, ma is meaning ghost, ma is meaning mother, ma is meaning cold. Therefore, my parents had to spend a lot of time correcting those words every time I mispronounced until I pronounced them correctly. Looking back now, this reflects a behavioral conditioning process where children explore with sound and get positive reinforcement in using language correctly. Through repeated practice, their support and teaching help contribute to my pronunciation. In my opinion, language learning is not just about imitating what is heard from adults, but also about experiencing everyday life. This relates to John Piaget. Children's language develops in parallel with their knowledge of their surroundings. I also first experienced action like eating, seeing, and handling objects in the house. Then I began to learn their name, and gradually my language developed. In this way, language is learned from lived experience, not just imitation and memorization. Now, as I'm a mother of a 2.5-year-old daughter, I find my perspective has changed in a new context. My daughter was born in Australia but raised in a traditional Vietnamese family where both her grandparents and parents speak Vietnamese. She knows many words and can ask and answer questions appropriately in Vietnamese. However, when she went to childcare, I was told that my daughter often repeated the questions and the word that educators said instead of answering in English. While this still seems concerning to me at the moment, I also understand that repetition is a part of the learning process. From the perspective of social interaction, children communicate before they completely understand by using imitation and repeat as tools. So my daughter is using the sounds of English while gradually understand the meaning through experience. This experience also helped me to understand my identity as a bilingual speaker. I can communicate fluently, freely, and openly in Vietnamese. However, with English, I can only communicate in a general way, and it's a tool for me to study, work, and live in Australia. I started learning English when I was 10 years old, and I remember I was always being quiet and shy to speak. When there was a native English teacher in my class, I was afraid of making mistakes and being judged, but gradually I improved my words and became more confident in speaking. This is a reminder that language is not only a tool for communication, but is also closely linked to identity, confidence, and a sense of belonging.